Hello and welcome to the fifth and final video of object-oriented programming in Roblox Studio. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can use module scripts and metatables throughout your whole game to utilize object-oriented programming to its max. So in the last video, we talked about how we can use module scripts and metatables with object-oriented programming. That worked well, but you may notice one problem with module scripts is that it cannot run alone. It's not a standalone script. It has to be required by something. Because other than that, module scripts could just replace normal scripts when you're using object-oriented programming. So what you can do in order to get around this, if you really want to use module scripts throughout your whole game, because they're a lot more organized, a lot less cluttered, a lot easier to communicate between scripts, is you can use a little starter script, which I will usually name my module config. So what I'm going to do in this script is I'm going to go through my current service and I'm going to see if any of the instances in this service or area that I'm in is a module script, and I'm going to require it. And you may also remember with module scripts, let me make a module script to demonstrate. Whatever you put in the area between the definition of the table and the return statement will run once the module is required. So the only obstacle preventing you from making module scripts into your normal standalone scripts is requiring it. So a way you can get past that is by using a normal script that requires every module script in your game. So let's start by defining the parent of the script, which will be script.parent. And we're going to define the descendants, which is going to be the parent get descendants. So what this is going to do is it's going to return all of the children and the children's children of whatever we're going through. This, in this case, it is our parent. So what you have to do with this module config script is put it wherever you want where there are module scripts. So in some cases, you might have to use a local script instead of a normal script if you want to use module scripts, for example, in starter GUI or in the starter player scripts. So we have the descendants. Let us go through the descendants. So we're going to do for I module and pairs descendants. So this is just a basic for loop going through each descendant in our parent, which in this case is the server script service. So we are going to check if the module is a module script. So this is basically doing is checking the little class. So if I go to a module script, you can see the class name right here is a module script. It's kind of dark, but you should be able to see it. And we are checking if this class name matches up with module script, and if it does, what we're going to do is we're going to require this module. So what this is going to do is it's basically just going to kickstart all of our modules within our server script service and tell them to start, or to yet start. And they'll be required, and whatever we have in here, it will run. So let's play this. As you can see, we have a print statement in our module, and it will print something. So that's pretty cool. So this module is currently just a very simple module with only one function. But in an actual game, instead of just printing something, you could attach certain functions in your module to events. You could define variables in your module. You can even make loops in this little like module area that can do something. So let's demonstrate here. You can have an infinite loop because it's checking while this little variable true is true, it will wait one, and we can just print something like this. And as you can see, this loop will go on forever. So you can use this module config just as kind of a way, whoops, you can use this module config as a way to utilize your module scripts as standalone scripts because these scripts run at the start of your game. So in order to accomplish the same module config setup on the client, so through local scripts, the process is basically the same except for one key difference. So I'm going to copy this little code snippet because you will need this. But what you do with your local script, I just created a local script in starter player scripts, is you're going to have to add a delay. So we're going to wait a second because the player takes time to load in and it will not detect all of the modules in your class or like the area you have the script in unless you add a little delay. So we have this module config all set up. So let's rename this to module config. And in order to demonstrate, I'm going to make a module script in starter player scripts. So we have our module. We can print that it's running locally. Let's test this out. So it waits a little bit and it runs locally. And you can also see the little wait statements from our main little module script. So the benefits of using this total module script workflow is it's a lot easier to communicate between scripts using module scripts, but you have to keep in mind that when you're using module scripts, if a module script requires another module script, and that module script also is requiring the first one, both scripts will never run because they'll infinitely be requiring each other. So in order to circumvent that, what I usually do is I make a main module, usually in server script service, that houses all of the main variables and functions that we'll need. So there's no traffic between other modules. And other than that, module scripts are also less cluttered. It's a lot easier to work with functions instead of just long lines of code as you usually do in Roblox. So when using module scripts, you can do that quite easily since you already have like a predefined table and you can just use that. And also the biggest thing is inheritance and metatables since you can require certain parts of your metatable parent and use that in the child, which saves a lot on space and keeps you from making a mistake or you have to change a lot of your scripts. But using this workflow isn't perfect. For example, when you have a local module script configure, you have to wait a second. So if your game is dependent on doing something instantly, you might not be able to do that. And also, sometimes when your player is like joining in a module script, I think this is only in Roblox Studio, not actually in your game when it is running on Roblox. If a module script is like connected to like a player added event, it might not run. It barely happens to me, but it's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, I usually keep a delicate balance between going all module scripts and using the normal Roblox workflow of just a bunch of normal scripts. Because module scripts are very, very good, but if you use them too much, I don't think it can be as easy and simple as it should be. It might be more confusing or a little more harder to like get a game started. But yeah, that's basically it for today. This is just an extreme of object-oriented programming. It is by no means the best way. There is no best way to program. It's just the way that you like best. As I said, my favorite way is to have a lot of module scripts and a lot of inheritance, but a little tiny script sprinkled in there. For example, with my tools in Roblox, I don't really use module scripts. I use local scripts. But the local scripts usually use a like remote event or a remote function to call up a module script on the server side. So in those situations, I use local scripts. Also, in my games where I have like a main game loop, I use a main script for that, just a normal script, not a module script. But all of my functions are connected to a module at some point. So my main scripts are basically just elaborations of these module config scripts. But yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for watching through this object-oriented programming in Roblox. This is a very useful tool that you'll be able to use not only in Roblox but in other programming languages and game engines as well. So it's good to know, good to learn. And I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or video ideas or even playlist ideas, comment them below. I hope you have a nice day and goodbye.